There's nothing that upsets me more than looking at the United States and looking at the overwhelming amount of African American Christians that there are, not realizing that they are actually following the religion not only that was the same religion of their captors 150 plus years ago when they were slaves, but also following a doctrine that outright supports slavery, encourages slavery, and even gives instructions on how to take care of your slaves. Like, why would you follow that religion? Why would you read that book and take lessons from it when the same document is responsible for the captivity of your ancestors? You know, and I've made this video before. It's the same thing with Aboriginal people that are Christians. The same document that encouraged the abduction and education of their relatives in the past to convert to Christianity, the same religion they follow, and I think that's really sad. I think that Aboriginal people and African Americans should be looking into whichever spirituality their ancestors had before they were captured and taken to North America, or before white people invaded Australia. So whenever I see that, I always just take a moment and pause and go, how did that happen? How did they arrive at that conclusion that the same religion that encouraged the abduction and captivity of their ancestors is the right religion for them?
If you're Black and you know what happened in slavery, how can you still be a Christian? I get this question so much, especially covering what happened in American slavery. And I am not going to be offended by that at all. I completely understand your question. Learning more about slavery will make you rethink a lot of things. And if you're not strong in your faith or you're a new believer, it can really rattle you. Number one, I always say pray about it. Ask God to reveal things to you. He always will. But past that, I say look into the history. Let me throw a couple facts at you. Did you know that Christianity was actually in Ethiopia 1,000 years before colonists ever set foot in Africa? Did you know that Christianity has been established in Ethiopia for at least 1,600 years now? Did you know that the Ethiopian Bible is actually the oldest translation of the Bible in general? I'm talking about oldest. There was a Greek bishop named Irenaeus of Lyons. I hope that I am saying that correctly. He had actually traveled to Ethiopia to spread Christianity and found, wow, it's full of churches. They already know. They already know about Jesus. Most of the churches in that time were actually preaching about the coming in the flesh of God, of course, being Jesus. And it's believed by theologians that Mark, yes, the actual disciple, apostle Mark, you know, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, that Mark, was the one to help bring Christianity to Ethiopia all the way back to the 1st or 2nd century. He also went to parts of North Africa, Egypt, things of that nature to talk about Jesus. Also, did you know that in 1493, Africans were actually the ones to preach the gospel to the Portuguese colonizers that came at that time? A lot of people refer to the Proverbs where it says, slave obey your master, understandable. But remember that the Bible also says masters treat your slaves fairly. Remember that the Bible is a history book. As soon as you stop reading things in the Bible that you see and assume that the Bible is condoning it, understand that it is a true account of history, you will start to understand things more. Let's look at, for example, the Levite concubine. It was a brutal R-wording of a woman until she unalived. Like literally like a mob R-wording. It was horrible. I can cover that in another video. I've done it before, but if you guys want me to do it again, I will. But a lot of people say, okay, the Bible is condoning R-wording. No, it's not. It's telling a true account of what happened. You don't go into history books and read something and be like, oh my gosh, the American government is condoning all these things. No, because it's telling history. The Bible is going to give instruction for what God knows is going to happen. Like he's omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. He knows this is going to happen. So therefore he's writing guidelines of slave obey your master, but also master treat your slaves fairly. So that, you know, it can be like an equal kind of thing. Remember that we can't take it so personally because Black people were not the only people to be enslaved in history. White people, Hispanic people, Asian people, there's still slavery going on right now today. Black people own Black people. Like it is a thing that's going to go on around the world. So to say that the Bible like is not for Black people, it doesn't really make sense to me. Please understand that Those evil white people in that time, I'm talking about in that time, I'm not saying white people are evil. Please, I don't do that. Those evil white people in that time that used God's word to bring people down, trust they will be dealt with. And on top of that, you are letting yourself be put in a box. You are letting them have the most important thing, which is your salvation. Don't give people that power. Don't listen to the media when they say that Christianity is for the white man. No. You need to get out of religion and get into relationship, because I promise you, the moment that you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, you're going to know exactly who you serve, and it's going to be the best thing that you've ever done in your life. So Ayana said, you're a Christian. Do you understand that these same people forced your ancestors to become Christians? Why are you still worshiping their God? God is for everybody. You can even look at the Crusades and how they did all those disgusting, evil things in the name of God. People are going to mess things up. People mess everything up. Like, we are evil to our core. We can't take the practices of a group of evil people and say that that is what represents God in general. Again, great question. I am so glad that you guys are comfortable enough to speak in the comments about what you really feel like, what you really think, because these conversations need to be had. Christians need to stop being offended and like standoffish when people have questions, and that matters. God doesn't get mad when we ask questions. If he were a God that didn't like that, then something would be fishy. These hard conversations are needed to uncover the truth. As always, guys, make sure you like and follow and comment down below what y'all want to get into next.
Christianity started a long time ago. Christianity existed in black communities even before the white people came in to reclassify every single thing. Christianity was literally practiced even before they came, lied about everything about Jesus Christ. And that is why sometimes I sit down and ask myself, what has these white people not done? What have they not taken? And you know that even to this point, we still have a lot of white folks out there that literally wish to turn back the hands of time so that they can literally punish black people. This is a very unique topic, and that is why I brought this topic here, so that me and you can debate on this together. Let me know as you're watching every single thing you think in the comment section. First, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share, and credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you, liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I did not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And with that being said, guys, let's continue watching this video. I'll be back with commentaries. Let's go, guys.
Why, yes, I do know why black people follow Christianity, even though it was the same religion used by enslavers. And to understand that, we have to start with what was really happening during slavery, because slavery wasn't just about free labor, right? It was ultimately about control. Enslaved Africans were stripped of their languages, their cultural practices, and their spiritual systems. And in many cases, right, they were forced to adopt Christianity under threat of punishment or even death. So this wasn't a free exchange of belief. It was absolutely imposed. And it wasn't this, here's a Bible, believe this and be saved. They were taught a very specific version of Christianity, and that was one that reinforced obedience. There are passages in the Bible that were repeatedly used to justify slavery. Things like, slaves, obey your earthly masters. That was preached to enslave people and keep them compliant. Some enslavers even removed parts of the Bible entirely, right? Creating what was known as the slave Bible, where stories of liberation like Exodus were minimized or taken out because they didn't want people or enslaved people identifying with rebellion or escape. So, it was weaponized religion, honestly. They were intentionally given controlled teachings that emphasized things like submission and suffering and reward in the afterlife instead of freedom in the present. And this is the part that I really want people to understand, okay? Because it's not enough to just say that they were taught submission. You have to ask yourself, why did that actually work? Why would someone accept suffering in the present while being told that their reward is in the afterlife? And the answer is psychological. When you're in a situation when you have no control, the human mind will try to find a way to survive it. And if you can't escape physically, then you escape mentally. So when you're told things like your suffering has a purpose or God sees you, and you'll be rewarded later, it then gives meaning to something that would otherwise feel unbearable, because the alternative is believing that the suffering is meaningless and that there is no relief. And the human mind doesn't handle that very well. Now, layer all that onto slavery. You have people who cannot leave, they cannot fight back safely, and they're cut off from their original belief systems that have now also been demonized. Then you introduce a framework that tells them to endure this now and they'll be rewarded eternally. That's psychological conditioning for endurance, right? It turns survival now into something that feels righteous. It gives people a way to keep going in a situation that was actually designed to break them. And that framework didn't just disappear, right? I mean, we still see it today, especially in poor and marginalized communities, right? People working exhausting jobs or barely getting by, or just still suffering in very real ways, but still holding tightly to the belief that this is temporary, that God will provide and their reward isn't here, it's later. And this isn't about mocking belief, right? It's about recognizing the function of that belief. Because when systems don't change, belief becomes the thing that helps people cope with staying inside them. So when you hear phrases like, just have faith, stay humble, or suffering is part of the journey, right? You have to ask yourself, does this empower people to change their conditions, or does it help them endure conditions that never change? Because that idea that suffering now is acceptable because reward comes later, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was taught, it was reinforced, and for many people, it is still working exactly as it was intended to. But then there's another part that people either don't know or they choose to ignore, and that is that enslaved people didn't just passively accept Christianity either, right? They transformed it. They reinterpreted the stories. They saw themselves in narratives of bondage and liberation, and they created their own spiritual traditions within it. And that's where things like spirituals and praise traditions and the Black church as we know it today began to really take shape. They saw themselves in the story of Moses. They found coded messages of escape and resistance in spirituals. They built community. They built identity and hope inside of something that was originally meant to control them. And over generations, when something is forced on a population that thoroughly, while everything else has been stripped and taken away, well, then it becomes embedded. Right now, it becomes culture. And so that's why today, many Black Christians don't see this as the enslaver's religion, because it no longer feels like something that was imposed. It feels like something that is theirs. And I mean, that's what happens, right? When people take something that was used to control them and they're able to reshape it, and then they pass it down for generations. At that point, it stops looking like oppression and it starts looking like tradition.
Why do most Black people have the same religion as these white nationalist, racist, white supremacist type people? Why do we think that it's good for us when they stole everything about us, made us forget our languages and our own religions and our own things, and then forced us to be Christians? And this is why I believe that Christianity is witchcraft. It is a spell.
Christianity was in Africa long before the transatlantic slave trade. It was in Egypt and Ethiopia. I mean, if you look at most of the councils, you had to find the white people there. The Council of Nicaea was a lot of Egyptians and Turkish and Berber cats. And the whole idea that Christianity was forced on us, that's a bad narrative. Was a false form of Christianity later propagated and controlled? Yes. But Christianity wasn't beat into us. Not that I know of any narrative where slaves were getting Christianity beat into them. And so I think that, like, that's the witchcraft. To me, in the Bible, a spell is not just an incantation. It's anything that draws your mind away from the way God does things. So it's trying to get illegitimate access to a legitimate means without God. So whenever somebody tells you to keep the law to remain saved, Paul calls that witchcraft, because you're trying to get access to God without God's current means of connectivity. That's why he calls it witchcraft. But what's happening is they don't realize that their perspective on Christianity is influenced by white supremacy, not Black identity.
When Africans were brought here as slaves during the transatlantic slave trade, they were not brought here with their religion. Our elders, the elders of the tribes, African tribes that we came from, they were killed because they held way too much power and way too much knowledge. They were too dangerous to the entire construct of what white superiority would come to be and what we know it to be today. They were dangerous to the institution of slavery. Because when you have elders that have such a tight hold on their communities, that have such knowledge and wisdom, spiritual connection to divine, right? They have the capabilities to overthrow everything, all of the falsehood that you're trying to implement into the youth of this tribe. So you're going to kill the elders first. This is about the religion part of it. I want us to understand why Black people, including myself, why we practice hoodoo, why we say that sometimes Christianity can be used as a tool against us. Because if you don't use your ancestral knowledge, the knowledge that you've inherited, the wisdom that you somehow, some way, that we call intuition, right? If you don't know how to decipher what's bullshit and what's not, what's the meat and what's the bones, it can indeed turn into a tool that's used to completely ruin you and your community. So when we talk about any African practice outside of Christianity, because believe it or not, Christianity was brought to Ethiopia. It was not birthed in Africa. It was brought to Ethiopia by accident, by 2 missionaries. I want y'all to look that up. I have a video on here. But anyway, when we're talking about African tribes and African traditions and religions and how they're demonic, I want you to know that all of that was planted in our community, in our minds, for a reason. There is a reason that they killed the elders in these tribes where they kidnapped millions of people. There is a reason that those were the directives that was given to the African people that were going into other tribes to hunt and kidnap and bring them back to the Europeans. There is a reason that the elders were killed. And it is because they held ancestral knowledge and wisdom. They would have been so dangerous to Christianity that we know it to be today. And as someone who practices hoodoo, and as someone who actually believes in Christianity, believes in that there is some real meat to get out of that, I do know that there are also some bones. And you have to toss those bones. But you individual, have to know what to toss, what to take, and what to actually perceive a different way. And part of it is the entire idea of Christianity. Is because a lot of times we think, oh, if you're a Christian, you can't do anything else. And that's actually not true. Parts of Santeria, parts of Ifa, a lot of different religions actually involve a lot of Christian beliefs, a lot of different things. But I want, in the conversation of, the reason I'm making this video is because I saw someone stitch a guy named Deontay Kyle. I saw them stitch a video of him saying Jesus is getting in the way. And if you didn't watch the whole episode of his podcast, which is called Grits and Eggs, you would take it as he was like the Antichrist or he was like a Satanist. But in reality, what he's saying is we have been so blinded, so brainwashed, so consumed in this white man's religion. And I'm sorry to call it that, but it truly is, because we did not practice that. We did not practice that. And you can say, oh, well, back, if my family's from Ghana, they practice Christianity in Ghana now because they've been colonized. They have been colonized. And the people that did not submit to Christianity, they were killed. Like that. And that was all over Africa. Like that. I hate the conversation of religion in the Black community, because sometimes we could be so small-minded and we can try and act like certain parts of history don't pertain to other parts, because you can't accept that there was a transatlantic slave trade. You can't say that happened, and that they did indeed brainwash us, and that they did indeed steal everything that we know about ourselves and feed us bullshit, but not acknowledge that most of that bullshit came through religion. A lot of it. Think about how powerful we are. We are sun babies. We are sun babies. Think about how connected we were to divine, how powerful we were for them to even have to do that. I want us to start thinking more. I want us to start thinking more and maybe take the offense out of it. Take the offense out of it. Sometimes people don't know how to say certain things. Sometimes people don't know how to take certain things, and I can respect that. But maybe just try to have a discourse about it. And if this is something that y'all need to expand on, hop on a live. We can actually hop on live and actually teach other people, and don't make it seem as though, and don't go about it as, oh, I'm trying to convince you or he's trying to convince me. No, we are laying down our perspectives, our beliefs, the facts, and whether you change my mind, I change your mind, that's not the point of a debate. That's not the point of a conversation. We're trying to get our points across, and maybe we can leave this table, this conversation, with some sort of understanding and respect for each other. But the division that's being pushed right now, because somebody practices Christianity and somebody practices hoodoo, and Christianity says what you do is evil, when Christianity was actually designed to make what I do evil. And I want you to look into why. And if you don't know where to start, I can help you. And it's the transatlantic slave trade. Like, y'all, I want us to do better when it comes to conversations that could rip the black community apart. Because right now we're looking at the black Christian community and the non-black Christian community, when in reality we all black at the end of the motherfucking day. And we need to be here for each other beyond these conversations. Because these very conversations will have other black people looking at other black people like, oh no, she's not Christian. I don't care what's going on with her. I don't have any empathy, any sympathy. I don't give a fuck about what's going on with her. When that is a black woman, that is a black man at the end of the motherfucking day. You don't have to believe what they're saying. You don't have to practice that faith. But let's be real when we talk about conversations that really could rip a divide in our community. Stop! I say that.
Talking to black people who are religious is like talking to a brick wall. Like being someone who wants black people to elevate from their current state that we're within this reality. Religion has to be addressed properly. Like, it has to be dismantled. The way religion was forced upon our people from these colonizers was violent. People were being unalived back to back. They resisted for so long until people started becoming broken. Like, it was a lot to take. While some people broke mentally and started to assimilate to these religions, other people kept fighting back. And it leads to the current state that we're in now. And all the spiritual practices that our ancestors practiced in the past, they became demonized. And like, even how the colonizers took these concepts and fed them to us by force, it's an inverted way of thinking. Like, the original practices that we used before taught you that everything was within. Like, you had the answers to everything. But then religion teaches you the opposite. Like, you need to put your trust in God, the God that's outside of you. And that's what makes black people so lazy. Like, you'll be like, oh my God, da 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 da. And then people will be like, don't worry, God will handle it. Like, just we need to pray about it and it'll be sorted. That's not how life works. Action is needed. It doesn't allow your mind to expand. Like, critical thinking isn't prioritized within these religions. You're told something and you're expected to follow those words that are written by man, that are said to be by a person that is so powerful and so much bigger than you are, like, so complex to understand. But yet this person writ a set of rules for you to comply by. Like, the whole thing doesn't allow you to use critical thinking to be like, what is all this? Like, how are you going along with this? Like, I don't get it. I know the state of the world is very low. Like, these are very tough times that we're living in, and I understand how having a religion may feel like something to keep your mind sane, but things won't change if you don't see things from a different angle and outgrow tools that were used to suppress your mind and not allow yourself to expand as a person beyond religion. Like, religion stunts you. I understand everyone's on their own journey and everyone can choose what they choose to believe in and whatnot, but my days.
And if I said one of the main reasons I'm still a Christian, I'm still religious, is because I need to believe in something that's bigger than myself, what now? What? I know that Christianity has been used as a form of white supremacy, as a form of slavery, as a form to harm women, actually, damn. Actually, all three Abrahamic religions have been used as a way to harm people who look like me. So why, you might ask, do I still claim to be a Christian, still claim to be religious? That's a good question. I think it's generally because, like, the European colonization of it all. Because, yes, I do identify as a Christian. I'm also a lesbian African, so many things. Nonprofit founder for queer Africans, so many things. But the thing is, I need to believe in something. Maybe I'm agnostic. Maybe I'm just spiritual. I need to believe in something that's bigger than myself. Because this human mind, it ain't gonna last me all my life. No. I need to believe in a higher power, in a God, some might say, to go through life and know that I am not alone. I am not alone. And genuinely, even with like how I was raised in the church, big mega churches, big Christian gal, big Texas Christian gal, in mega churches all my life, the way they described Jesus was very powerful to me. He was looking at like he was high-key an activist. He hated rich people. He hated the bureaucracy of it all. He loved prostitutes, disabled people. He loved everybody who's on the margins of society. Loved that guy down. The way evangelical Christians, the way we have been taught religion is a little crazy. The way religion has been used to harm so many people, fucking crazy. Hate it so much. But I do need to believe in something because I don't believe fully in myself. And that's why I still identify as a Christian, yes.
The hard part about being a black person that is not super religious is that other black people are still super religious. Like, I be forgetting, like, oh, it's actually me. I'm the outlier here. Like, y'all are doing what is expected of you, actually. Like, when I see people being like, oh, yeah, I go to church, like, every Sunday, every other Sunday, and I'm, like, praying regularly, and I'm doing my devotionals, and I'm fasting, and I'm, like, I'd be like, oh, I'm the heathen? Like, yeah, you are. Especially because most of, like, my close friends are, like, just spiritual or like casually religious, you know what I mean? Like, you know, still believe in God, might do a little CME, you know what I'm saying? Christmas, Mother's Day, Easter when I come to church, but not really toting the Bible everywhere type of vibes, you know? But there are other black people, most of the other black people, who are the exact like opposite of that, other end of the spectrum. And that's like the norm. And I just be forgetting that. Like, I'm always so like, what? God? I don't know why I'd be so shocked, especially when I know for a fact that religion is not just like a thing that black people do. It is like a cultural thing for black people. Like, you are expected to know what to say when somebody says God is good. You know what I mean? You're expected to know what I'm talking about when I talk about like the ladies in the front with the big hats, right? You are expected to know what I'm talking about when I talk about Sunday's best, right? You're just expected to know those things because they're not just religious things. They're black things or black cultural practices, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, if I can understand that, why can't I understand that people are not doing it just for the cultural aspect? Like, people are doing it because that's their bag. Like, that's what they do. God is what yeah. Twin, where have you been? Like, they be like, damn, like, why does that scramble my brain? Maybe because I've deconstructed it and it's not, you know, it's not what's going on in here anymore. Whatever. I don't know. I just be like, oh.
You know what's really crazy? It's always respect their religion, respect their belief until it's Christianity. Then it's, be quiet. Don't nobody want to hear that. Don't put your beliefs on other people. Not everybody believes in God. Not everybody want to hear that. You're shoving your religion down people's throats. But I know why, though. And if you like me, you know why, too. So, I no longer get upset. Because at this point, I'm just like, I will pray for your salvation. Because I want to say something else. But I won't.
Anyways, welcome back, guys, and thank you so much for watching till this point. And like I said, I want to get your honest opinion in the comment section, and I will keep saying it. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. The idea Christianity only began with white people is a misunderstanding. Christianity actually started long before the Europeans became dominant, and its roots are deeply connected to the Middle East and Africa, not Europe. Now, I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you guys before Christianity, the ancient foundation, and every single thing, so that we can both understand. Now, like I said, why we are doing this is to understand each other, because a lot of people keep telling black people, if these people have literally stripped us off of everything, do we still need to follow the doctrine as to what they say, and I will get into all of that at the end of this video. Now let's talk about before Christianity, the ancient foundation, where Christianity didn't appear out of nowhere. It grew out of Judaism, one of the oldest monotheistic religion. The ancient Israelites lived in the region of Canaan, which is the modern days Israel Palestinians, okay? While they believe in one God, which is Yahweh, the Scar Texas, later called the Old Testament, formed the foundation of Christian belief. Now let's talk about the life of Jesus, which is between the 4 BCE and 30 CE, okay? Where Christianity began with Jesus Christ, who was born in Bethlehem, who was raised in Nazareth, a Jewish teacher and a preacher. Now, the important note is Jesus was a Middle Eastern man, not European. Good. And his message was about love, forgiveness, justice, helping the poor and the oppressed, and a spiritual kingdom of God. Where his key events, he was crucified by the Roman Empire that we all already know in Jerusalem, and his followers believe he rose from the dead and became the call of Christianity. Now let's talk about the first Christianity, which is the first centuries CE, okay? Where after Jesus' death, his followers, which is disciples / apostles, spread his teaching. Christianity first spread across the Middle East and North Africa, not even Europe at all. Where we have Peter the Apostle, we have Paul the Apostle, where Paul especially helped spread Christianity beyond Jews to non-Jews Gentiles. Let's talk about the early African Christianity, which is very important in this context, where before European became Christianity, Africans was already a major center of Christianity, right? Where we have the Ethiopian, where Christianity reached Ethiopian as early as the 1st century. The Ethiopian churches is one of the oldest in the world. The story of the Ethiopian church, you can also find that in Acts chapter 8, showing the early African conversation. Then let's talk about Egypt, where Christianity spread to Egypt. The city of Alexandria became a major Christian center, where we have influential African Christian thinkers like Augustine of Hippos, and then we have the Tertullians. These African scholars shaped Christianity theology long before Europe dominated it. Now, Christianity and the Roman Empire, where at first Christians were persecuted by Rome, but everything changed under Constantine the Great, where the event of Edict of Milan Christian became legal. Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. This is when Christianity began to spread widely into Europe. Now, let's talk about the European adaptation after the 300 CE, where Europeans were not the origin of Christianity. They adopted it later. The Roman Empire spread Christianity across Europe. Churches were built. The Bible was translated into Latin. Over time, Europe became the center of political Christian power, where churches now started gaining influence. So let's talk about the colonial era and white man Christianity, where many churches later in the 1400s to 1900s, European nations colonized Africans, Asians, and the Americans. They brought Christianity with them, but often mixed it with power, control, and cultural dominance. This is why many people associate Christianity with white people. But that's a later development, not the origin. The truth is, in simple terms, Christianity started in the Middle East. That's 1. 2. Early believers were Jewish, African, and other non-Europeans. 3. African played a major early role. 4. Europe adopted and later spread Christianity globally. Christianity is not originally a white man's religion. It is a global faith with roots in the Middle East and Africa. So, as a black person, for me, on my own perspective, I'm not doing Christianity because of what the white man said. It is because of what I believe. It is because of what I think that my conscience can convince me a whole lot. But let me know what you think in the comment section, and credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And thank you so much for staying stick and hooked with me to the end of this video. Yes, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.